How's it going, everyone? We've got some absolutely massive Stellar Blade updates that I think are very relevant and you guys are gonna be pretty freaking excited about. Now, I don't think it's news that is anything too surprising, but it's still pretty nice to hear it directly from ShiftUp's financial statements. The text is in Korean, but there are translations regarding the future of the franchise, and I think everybody wants this franchise to have a future. And yes, some of what I'll say in this video is a retread, but these videos have been garnering a large audience talking about the game, and I feel like it's relevant to talk about all of the aspects that I think make a sequel very likely outside of just ShiftUp statements here. Now, this is coming from Genki, a Twitter account. ShiftUp announced the development of Project Witches, a new cross-platform game for PC, console, and mobile. Now, that game is something that is a gacha game, so that is not Stellar Blade 2. Stellar Blade 2 will not be coming out in 2027 in the form of Project Witches. That is an entirely different game. However, Stellar Blade developer ShiftUp has confirmed both the PC version and a sequel are under consideration. If you are right out the gate saying that something is under consideration, probably going to happen. I know that that is still not direct confirmation, but guys, Stellar Blade has been out for only a month. How many resources do you think needs to be allocated to get this game on PC? First of all, I don't know if that would be a ShiftUp decision or a PlayStation decision. Sometimes exclusivity agreements and things like that, there's a timed window for the exclusivity period. Even if PlayStation is publishing the game, sometimes it could be something where PlayStation has exclusive rights to publish the game on any consoles, but then after a certain duration, 6 months, a year, ShiftUp is free to do whatever they want. Even if ShiftUp would have to handle the porting, I'm sure they could find a publisher to handle the porting of that. And if they couldn't, like, I'm sure Sony themselves would be willing to port the game onto PC. Imagine handing a Stellar Blade off to Nix's or something like that. I don't know the ins and outs of how it would work, but given how much money Stellar Blade could generate on PC, a formality that at some point it's gonna come to PC. I just question whether or not it's going to be the typical 2-year window that Sony typically does. Because Rise of Ronin, for example, that's a Team Ninja game. Team Ninja's other title in Nioh, if you go back and look at Nioh, that was initially a PlayStation 5 exclusive, but Nioh did ultimately come out on PC only 9 months later. February for the initial PlayStation 4 release, and then November of the same year for PC. I could see something like that happen with Rise of Ronin as well, and it will be interesting if that does happen with Stellar Blade as well. I could see that happen because when you talk about the turnaround window for this game to come to PC versus other PlayStation exclusives, well, other PlayStation exclusives weren't second-party releases, and they weren't games coming from other developers, and I don't know the ins and outs of the actual contract that Sony has in place in terms of Stellar Blade's release. I'm sure there are a lot of fine details, so whether it's 2 years, whether it's 9 months like Nioh and Nioh 2, I do imagine that Stellar Blade is gonna come to PC. Hopefully it's not 2 years, because I do think some of that luster 2 years from now is gonna go away, but we'll see. I personally think as far as if PlayStation can make the decisions, your best bet is to get ShiftUp to do an expansion to Stellar Blade, add 6 to 8 hours of content, release that for $20, sell that, and then bundle it all together, release a complete edition on PlayStation 5, and then release it on PC for $60, because it'll be valued at that. I think if you do Stellar Blade as a regular release at $60, people will still pick it up, but a delayed release, if it's a year from now, 2 years from now at $60, that's always a little bit of a hard sell. That's why things like Horizon Forbidden West had Burning Shores baked in, Ghost of Tsushima has the director's cut version and has Iki Island baked in, you know, Spider-Man has the City That Never Sleeps baked in. That is beneficial to add some value. God of War Ragnarok will have Valhalla baked in, even though that was a free DLC, you could have easily paid for that, and that offers more content value and I think justifies a higher price point, so something to consider there. As far as a sequel goes, obviously something that has to happen. I imagine leading up to the release of Stellar Blade, PlayStation and ShiftUp were already having talks behind closed door of getting a sequel out there, whether that be on PlayStation 5 or that could be something you could get ready as a PlayStation 6 launch title. Could you imagine that being a PlayStation 6 launch title, Stellar Blade 2? Because that would be about 4.5 years from now. Fall of 2028 is when the PlayStation 6 is going to come out. Boy, oh boy, if I'm Sony and PlayStation, you want to look ahead 4 or 5 years, because the stuff you're getting in development right now, the stuff you're cooking right now, and that's still relatively early on right now, is going to be your 2027, your 2028 titles. And with Stellar Blade coming out right now, seeing the success level of that game, guys, Stellar Blade 2 as a launch title for the PlayStation 6, that would be huge. Or a launch window title. That's just me spitballing. That's just me, you know, looking at the window of time that we got to work with. But given that Stellar Blade's infrastructure and its gameplay style has already been put into place, I don't think development of that is going to take 6, 7, 8 years. I think 4.5 to 5 years would be around the window you're talking about, and that would put us right in range of a PlayStation 6 launch title or a PlayStation 6 launch window title. Again, we are spitballing a ways away, but there you go with that. That is my 2 cents. And again, I've said it over and over again. Hardest thing to do in gaming is to create a new IP, single player, $70, and when you have that, you better latch on for dear life to that IP, because there are so many games that come out that fit in that criteria that aren't home run successes, but Stellar Blade happened to be a home run success. We don't have exact commercial details across the board, but it's very safe to say that this game has been a very, very well-received game. Not only commercially, but critically as well. I thought that this game was going to have a hard time critically because of some of the aspects of the game, as I've said, and I said going into the release, if they settle in the high 70s or low 80s, that is a home run. That should be celebrated, and it has settled in the low 80s, and I really do believe, reading some of those reviews, that some of the aspects of the game did hinder this game's overall reception. I think that, you know, some of the aspects were changed. This game may have been received a little bit better. That's just my opinion. That's just my opinion. Y'all can disagree with me on that. Y'all can think I am, you know, a conspiracy theorist here, or whatever you want to call me, but that's just my opinion on that. But I've always just assessed Stellar Blade from the gameplay standpoint, the soundtrack standpoint. Yeah, think what you want of the narrative. It's not this incredibly heart-wrenching narrative or anything like that, but I think it's fine, and the gameplay is slick, the soundtrack is tremendous, the visuals are great. Every element of being a high-quality action RPG, I feel like it nails the majority of them. Are there areas they can work on? Are there areas they can build off of? Absolutely. But that's the great thing about having a new IP. You set the foundation really well, now it's time to build on it. I think Sega did the same thing with Sonic Frontiers, where they nailed it in a lot of different areas. Now they can build upon it, and you would hope the sequel is just even better, and now you know that there's an audience attached to it, so a lot of the pressure is alleviated in that, oh my god, how's this game gonna do? Do we have to do this, or do we have to do that? No, there's an audience for Stellar Blade that has been obviously proven at this point, so now focus on cooking up a good game, get the right deal worked out with PlayStation, since I'm sure they're having conversations, or there's a conversation and a agreement already in place. It's always things that, you know, there are stages to agreements being made. Sometimes you're just in a verbal agreement, then you gotta get the paperwork done, then it's finally in place, and then there's only so much they're gonna want to talk about it, so on and so forth. There's layers to these things that are above my pay grade. So when they say that they are under consideration to do a sequel and a PC port, I am very, very confident that both of those things are like 95% assured at this stage of the game. It's just working out the finer details. But that's going to do it for me. Again, exciting news across the board about Stellar Blade. Happy to hear that the game is probably going to be coming to PC. I think the game is going to do incredibly well. Let's just hope the modding scene doesn't get too crazy. They're going to get a little crazy, but maybe not too crazy. But yeah, that game's going to do exceedingly well on PC. And hopefully, you know, for the betterment and the notoriety of the IP, it would be best if it's like a 9-month or a 1-year turnaround versus a 2-year. But again, those details I am not going to know. That's going to do it for me. Let me know all of your thoughts in the comment section down below. Sound off there. Thank you for watching, and goodbye. Hey guys, we hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, make sure to hit the subscribe button, and if you're already subscribed, do us a favor and hit the bell icon. This way you'll be notified whenever we post a new video. That's the best way to keep up with all of our uploads, and we usually try to upload 2 videos a day. And with the bell icon hit, you'll be notified whenever we do upload a video. As always, thanks for watching.